Hey guys, this is Bob. It is so good to be back with you. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you who came out to my recent video on the Tarot Oracle. Enjoyed all your comments and your feedback, and we'll keep having more of that. Today's video, though, is about Mabon. Now, I know Mabon's not till next week, but I decided to do this video early because I figure, if you want to get ready for Mabon, you need some time. So I thought I'd do this early, give you some advance notice. We're coming up to the turning of the wheel. Now, this isn't the Wiccan Wheel, but it's a wheel symbol with the pentagram and the moon and the sacred branches of the world tree. And Mabon is probably one of, I'd say if it's not my favorite, it's probably my second favorite. I like Samhain, which is Halloween. It's probably my favorite holiday, but this is probably my second favorite holiday in the Wiccan tradition, Mabon. And you may say, well, what is Mabon? Well, Mabon is the transition. It is the autumnal equinox. In the United States, we call autumn fall, and it officially starts on September 21st or September 22nd. I think this year falls on the 22nd. But this is a wonderful time because it's the time of the second harvest. A while back we celebrated Lunasa, and Lunasa, how you pronounce it, was what we call the first harvest. And in the first harvest they gathered in the wheat, and the symbols of that holiday is wheat, and that's when we talked about the bread. Mabon is the gathering of the fruits. This is when people start to gather the squash and the gourds and the pumpkins and the vegetables from the garden. And in the old days, they would have big community gatherings. People would, work in the fields, gather their crops, and then they would share the harvest with their neighbors. I think it's a wonderful tradition. But underneath all of that, there's the story and the life cycle of the earth and of the sun, and of the story of the Lord and the Lady. In the Wiccan tradition, we believe that deity has two forms, a male form and a female form. And today I'm wearing my crescent to represent the goddess, but I've also put on my sun symbol. This is it's made of bronze. It's the sun. I don't know if you guys can see this. But I'm wearing that as well today to honor the Lord energy. And I thought today we'd spend some time and talk about the significance of Mabon in our lives. So, come on along. I live in the eastern coast of the United States, and here we are experiencing what we call fall. And this is where the leaves start to shed from the trees. Behind me here you can see this beautiful tree, and all of these trees. There are tinges of yellow now starting. And as we look down to the ground, we can see leaves have already begun to fall. Over here is our community garden. The Park Service allows people to buy plots here, and they can plant vegetables and plants and grow their own food. I think it's wonderful. Every year I watch the cycles of the garden. That way I know the seasons. As you can see here, here's a plot that's being kind of closed down now. They got the tools here, they've been taking things out. And as you look over here, you can see the plants are just starting to fade. I can feel the change in the air even though it's still relatively warm. The mornings are cool, the evenings are cool, and there's an undercurrent when the wind blows or a breeze passes. of just a hint of change. Look at this old tree here. Soon it will be bare of all of its leaves. But isn't it beautiful? Nature has its rhythms, its cycles, and it knows balance. Right now in the Wiccan mythology, we believe that the Lord is passing. The earth moves through cycles, and in the Wiccan teachings, the Lord is born at Yule, and he passes at Mabon. After the Lord passes at Mabon, the goddess goes into mourning. And in her sorrow, she withdraws her life force from the earth. And this is why the earth becomes barren at this time. And she grieves through the winter. Mabon is a wonderful time for you to think about your own journey and your own life. You know, it's a time of letting go. You know, you may look over this last year and thought, gee, you know, I wanted to get married. Maybe you're in a relationship and then it broke up. And now you're alone. Or maybe you had a great job, you were on the fast track to success, and then you got fired or laid off, lost your job. Mabon is a time where we should grieve our losses for the year. It's a time where we come to understand the passing of our lives and the passing of the earth. In our culture, many people want to ignore grief. They want to act like they're always happy. But the truth is, unless we grieve our losses, we can't really celebrate our successes. So now is a time for us to enter into quiet, into reflection. Now, when we talk about the Lord dying and the goddess going into grieving, there's also hope, because the truth is the Lord will be reborn and he will live again. There's a message of eternal life in this teaching. I think the Wiccans and pagans of old really were wise. They understood that spiritual truths are all around us, that in the very earth there is life, and that we can share in that life. We are part of that life. I think that's beautiful. So if you're at Mabon and you're saying, you know, Psychic Bob, I get depressed because now there's less sunlight. Well, you might have seasonal affective disorder, and there are ways to deal with that, and, you know. But don't let that stop you from living. Go out and be in the sun. You know, as I've been studying Wicca over the last several years, I've really made a point to observe the energy of the sun. And as the seasons shift, you can actually feel the energy of the sun shift. Right now I'm looking up at the sun, and even though it's bright, its power is less than it was, say at the summer solstice in June. In June, the Lord was at his greatest power. But since then he has aged and he's becoming weaker. Very much like humans. We grow for a while, we reach our peak, and then we slowly wane. Don't let that upset you. That's part of our lives. It's part of our journey. We're part of the earth and its cycles. Many people over the years have forgotten that connection. I think the revival of the Wiccan movement has brought that awareness back. You know, while you're out walking at Mabon, or before Mabon really, at this time, you might want to start to gather items for your altar. Maybe you'd want to create a Mabon altar. You don't have to spend a lot of money. The best things in life are free. If we look here, there are leaves on the ground that are lovely. That would be beautiful little additions to a bowl. You could get a bowl and fill it with leaves gathered. That would be a wonderful way to honor Mabon. The important thing about Mabon is that you want to use it as a time of reflection. And as I said, if you feel grief, let that grief rise. Embrace the grief, and also embrace the goddess and ask for her healing and her blessing and her power. She'll understand your sorrow, for she sorrows as well. Here I've come upon a memorial to the war veterans. Somebody's put out a beautiful wreath here. It says, James Marks All Veterans Park. It's very interesting at Mabon, there's a memorial to those who have passed. Mabon's a wonderful time to remember those, to pray for them. Pray they have rest and peace, and know that even they too will be offered the chance for rebirth. Well, guys, I thought also you might be interested in seeing a little miniature altar I set up. I just made a little quick altar here on my desktop, just to give you some ideas of what a Mabon altar could look like. Now, yours may look very different, and that's okay. But basically, I put down a beautiful scarf here. You can see it. It's just like a shawl. And I chose this because it has beautiful colors like the fall season. And the center pattern is a starburst. Reminds me of the solar energy. I put also a chalice here to represent the fruit of the vine. You can fill that with water or grape juice or wine. And I also put over here a cornucopia. Now, cornucopia is also known as horn of plenty. And the word cornucopia actually is Latin, cornu, which means cone. Cornu, which means horn. Copia, like copious, plenty. So cornucopia is a horn of plenty. This is an ancient god symbol that from the Lord comes all the harvest, and the goddess. It represents a male and female symbol. It represents the horned Lord and also the womb of the goddess and the plenty of the earth. And for our deity for the altar, I happen to have a beautiful statue of Lord Dionysus. And Dionysus was the Greek god of the vine. And here he is eating grapes. You can see he's robed in the lush foliage of the vine. Dionysus in the Roman tradition was called Bacchus, and you can see he's pouring out his ewer of wine. He pours richness to the earth through his offerings of the vine. Dionysus is a god that dies at Mabon. As the vine is harvested and chopped down for the winter, he goes into the underworld. But as we said earlier, the Lord will resurrect again at Yule. So we know that he too is eternal. So anyways, I thought you guys would like kind of just, I'd leave you with a brief meditation, kind of a prayer. I put on a beautiful orange and gold shawl here. You'll notice the orange is soft and faded, and that's like the sun's power becoming weaker. Traditionally, oranges, reds, and golds are the colors of this time of year. I thought we'd read an invocation now. This is taken from one of my favorite books, Wicca, The Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. This is by Scott Cunningham. And they have a beautiful Mabon prayer in here that I'm a big fan of. So I thought we'd go through this prayer. And Mabon says, circa September 21st. And I think this year it's actually the 22nd. But sitting before our altar, I'm going to say the following. So sit back and meditate on the Lord and his passing and the changing of the earth in this autumn time. Let us pray. Leaves fall, the days grow cold. The goddess pulls her mantle of earth around her. As you, O great sun god, sail toward the west, to the lands of eternal enchantment, wrapped in the coolness of night, fruits ripen, seeds drop, the hours of day and night are balanced. Chill winds blow in from the north, wailing laments, in the seeming extinction of nature's power. O blessed goddess, know that life continues. For spring is impossible without the second harvest, as surely as life is impossible without death. Blessings upon you, O fallen God, as you journey into the lands of winter and into the goddess's loving arms. So mote it be. Well, guys, I'm so glad that you're here with me today and that I've been able to share my thoughts on Mabon. I'd love to hear from you about your Mabon experiences, so put comments in the box below, thumbs up, and Mabon's coming up, so it's the 22nd of September, so maybe you want to make a shrine or an altar and celebrate, and I'd sure love to hear about your experiences. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for your support. I love you all. Blessings to you.